Okay, welcome back to the channel, everyone. As you guys again could have seen from the thumbnail, so I'm back with my third episode in the series Behind the Rod. And like I said in the previous two, the whole reason about this series is number one, to get to know some of the bigger names and anglers in the industry and so on, and also then for me to learn. I've been learning a lot from these sessions, and then also for you, the viewer. I just mentioned to Jordan here that there's so many people that have asked me questions about this and that, about specimen angling, and I don't always have the answers, as I'm still relatively new in the specimen industry. So yeah, but in my third video then here, we have Jordan McWilliams.
Good to see you, Bernard.
Yeah, and I think some of you know, if you follow social media and everything that's going on in the specimen world, I think it's a very familiar face for you guys as well. So yeah, so Jordan McWilliams, we're actually sitting here today in session. Jordan is fishing here at Rietvlei. And then I'm going to start off immediately with, I want him to tell me the story, because I did a bit of research on Jordan as well. I'm not walking into this blind. So I spoke to some of the guys that he knows, and specifically Via, his peg mate. He gave me lots of information as well.
Okay, good.
Yeah. No, he just had nice stuff to say and everything. So, and then Werner from Carp World, when I phoned him as well, he said, tell Jordan, he must tell you about his younger days, where he basically grew up here at Rietvlei. So, yeah, that's what I said. I have some inside information about your younger days, your school days, and then Werner mentioned something about your father would drop you off here and then you go fishing. So, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, tell us the story.
So basically, how it all started off at Rietvlei specifically is we walked into Angling Africa, an old fishing shop, unfortunately closed now. But there was a banner of Via when he was still fishing for Carp World, which also isn't around anymore. But he would do guided sessions, and essentially you would pay him for the weekend, and he would come and help you do your lines and everything, and just try and get you onto the fish. So that's basically how it started. Is we booked a guided session with Via. This is back in around about 2009, I reckon. When I started fishing this side, and obviously you had to get the bait boats put together, and I wasn't very kitted for the sessions and everything yet, but yeah, that's how the king point of the situation started. So I did a couple of sessions with Via. After, say, 3 or 4 guided sessions, that we actually just became good friends and started fishing together, yeah. And with that, my dad didn't need to come with every single time. So he would come and drop me off after work on a Friday and then pick me up on the Sunday, or if it was a nice long weekend, then I'll get an extra night in. And as I got older, basically, we just kept on repeating that process. I fished here heavily until about 16, 17 years of age. My dream of getting the 40-pound out of this venue, I eventually achieved in 2016 after a lot of hours. And funny enough, it was on a one-night session instead of the week sessions that I put in here as well. But yeah, it was essentially my dad dropping me off after work on a Friday. In that time, it was a lot more basic fishing. Like I told you a bit earlier, you had to catch a lot less fish than what you do these days. 2 or 3 fish for a weekend, but decent size, all sort of 10 kilo plus fish. And yeah, it's a bit different now. Now these days, you can actually have big hit sessions on this venue. But yeah, in terms of that, I made good friends here. Walter van Mark, Tommy Tanner, all the old faces of Rietvlei. We were a group that fished here together. And yeah, I made very good friends and caught a lot of decent fish out of here.
Oh, that's cool. So basically, he sent me some photos. I'll show it in the video. He might have shown it here somewhere now, but yeah, when he started fishing as a small young boy and everything. Okay. So just a little bit info then about Jordan again. You know, who is Jordan? Where did you grow up? Just a little bit of background, where you at school and so on.
So I grew up in Fourways in Johannesburg. We stayed there basically my whole life until I moved out. I started off my initial fishing at Footloose Trout Farm, which was a little trout farm just on the sort of doorstep of Diepsloot, which also doesn't exist anymore in these days, but it was a good venue to grow up on. It taught me a lot of different types of angling: bass fishing, carp fishing, barbel fishing, fly fishing. And then, yeah, in terms of school, I went to Balu College for high school. And obviously I got my matric out of that. I studied at Monash University in Rijmsig. After that was basically when I joined Fox in the company. But
Mm.
yeah, growing up, I mean, you'll see in some of the photos, fishing was a young love for me.
Mm.
There's a picture of me that's standing over the pool fence with a rod and reel in my hand, catching wet towels out of the pool. So yeah, it was definitely a young love for me. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, so it's a lot of some of the stuff you already answered, and that's perfect. So where everything started and so on. But then I take, for instance, for me myself, started off with popcorn,
Yes.
it's conventional angling. And then only recently in the last few years that I switched to specimen angling. So where and when or what made you decide to go to specimen, or was it specimen from the start, or did you also start the old, more traditional way, as popcorn or so, or where did it start?
Definitely started on the popcorn side of things, on the bank angling side of things. In those days, it was really a bit of everything. You wanted to be a specimen angler. I mean, we were at one stage hooking tiger nuts onto reed flash traces and catching fish like that. Who knows how with those rig mechanics. But yeah, definitely started off on the bank angling side. Just like I said, Footloose, nothing competitive at that stage. I was a youngster, probably 5, 6, 7 years old at that stage. And with that, then we started buying the pre-made rigs and started testing that out. At that time, there was still BFA around, and we'd use some of their pop-ups and so on. And yeah, they caught a couple of fish out of Footloose at that time on the specimen, but it's nothing compared to what we know today, or even 5 years ago. But yeah, essentially started off on the popcorn. I would say phased into the specimen all the way. I would say definitely 2009 was where it went full on to specimen. I actually still did a bit of popcorn after that. I fished for the junior SA's team for a couple of different provinces for a couple of years. So doing a bit back and forth, but that was just for the competitive side of it and casting practice and all those sort of things. But yeah.
Okay, so as you guys just heard, Jordan's actually been in the specimen game for a very long time. Just quickly again, if you see weird breaks in the video and so on, you'll remember on my previous session with Behind the Rod, the video with John, I had a bit of technical problems with the camera cutting out and not knowing about it. So we're doing this in sections, so hopefully there's not too many interruptions and weird silences and so on. But yeah, just bear with me. Okay, so yeah, so it sounds like also the same thing, and I picked up the same with Wagner and John. It's almost like all of the the guys that are on specimen now and the guys that's been in it for years and serious about it actually had a similar. We all started somewhere small with your conventional, your popcorn, the traditional way, and so on, and then somewhere you saw something or you saw someone fishing and specimen or the specimen way, and then we all just made the switch. Okay, so my next question is, who or what inspires you? I think we all have something. It might be the fact just for being outside, or someone that inspires you or motivates you. So for you, are there any anglers out there, other anglers that inspire you or motivate you to keep on fishing? And then if it's not anglers or anything, just in general, what motivates you to keep going at this?
Yeah, definitely. I think when we're talking about an inspiration factor, I've always said with my angling that I try to be as unique to myself as possible. So there's nobody really that I aspire to be. But in terms of inspiration of angling, I mean, Veer, I grew up with Veer, like I say, from a very young age. And yeah, he's like a brother to me. And he was is definitely a huge inspiration to me. I mean, we push each other to the limits when it comes to essays and so on. I mean, sometimes you've got 3 hours of sleep and you're going for the end piece of a 72-hour competition, and emotions are doing up and down. And he definitely he was definitely is definitely a big inspiration to me. Obviously growing up, I mean, I would go and watch, before we were peg mates in the competitive side, I would go and watch him fish with his previous peg mates, and watching what they were doing was always amazing, and learning it from him and all the specific details that you get into. Veer is definitely a big inspiration to me. In terms of also inspiration just to keep going and to keep pushing would definitely be my mother and my father. They invested a lot of time and money into me as a youngster growing up. And yeah, my dad just said, keep working at it. One day, one day you'll get to your aspirations and get to your dream. So yeah, definitely my mother, my father, and now obviously not newly, but my fiance now. She also always pushes me harder and harder to do the competitions. You know, it's time away from home, so you need to make the most of what you're getting to. And when we go overseas and stuff, sometimes away for 10 days, sometimes I got to go do filming for a week with Fox. And it's a lot of time away from home, but she definitely keeps pushing me to just better myself and to make the most of every opportunity.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So it's nice. And the role that Veer played in your thing. And I like the thing that you say about you want to aspire to be who you are, true to yourself. And I think that's actually very, very important, because yes, I've got a YouTube channel now and so on. And it was never the plan for me to do a YouTube channel. But a few years ago when I started, my matric class actually said, you know, just go and do it. But why I'm mentioning it, I think nowadays, especially people getting into specimen angling and younger anglers, you see so much on YouTube and other things that people want to try and be like that person or whatever the case may be. And I think what you said is so true. And I think even in angling is just be yourself and do what works for you. Don't try and be someone else, you know, just be yourself.
I mean, when in my day, there wasn't, the activity on YouTube was negligible. You would basically pick up your bank angler or, I think that time was Staveliner magazine, and you would try and learn as much as possible out of that. And then it was based off of learning from other people. Like I say, Veer's been doing this a lot longer than I had. By the time I was fishing with him at Ridgevlei, he had numerous big fish up to high 30s out of this venue. And I obviously, when in those first couple of years of your angling, you need to try and test and go through all of these processes. But eventually, at the end of the day, I always say is do what you want to do. Test the rigs that you want to test. If you think that something can possibly work, try it, and then you can try something else afterwards. I mean, we'll get into it now, but I mean, all the different rigs that I've been through, from basic hair rig, then you add the ring, then you add a flipper or a kicker, these different procedures is eventually you build your own identity. And myself and Veer talk about it a lot. Every angler has got their own style. Some anglers don't like petrol motors. Some anglers only use petrol motors. Some guys don't do casting. Some guys do both. And eventually, at the end of the day, it all comes down to what you want to do. I mean, think about 5 years ago, how many people were fishing helicopter rigs in our industry? And I can tell you, there wasn't a hell of a lot. It wasn't a known rig, and now everybody pushes helicopter rigs because it's a new trend. But I mean, social media pulls you, not social media, but the trends that are set always pulls you in the direction of, this is the only rig that works, or this is the only lead system that works. And that's not true. There's so many options in specimen angling that you can look at, from inlines to helicopters to free running inline systems. There's so many things that can be tested. And I would definitely urge any young angler getting into the sport is, yes, learn, test, but build your own identity in the sport. Don't try and be like somebody else.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. Just you guys here where we're sitting now, the wind is very strong today. So I'm going to do my best with the editing for the wind and stuff like that as well. But if you hear a bit of noise, you see me looking around. It's the wind blowing everywhere. Okay, no, so far, okay, no, that's good. So we're going to get into, the next part is, we've had a bit of longer questions now. So these are quick fire questions. You can explain if you want to, but it's not really necessary. But it's just, let's get a few quick facts then about your angle. So I'm going to start up, and then you just tell us what it is. So your favorite rig?
Or clinker or lead system?
Rig, just rig. You're from hook link towards the hook part.
Let's favorite rig. I would say combi blowback.
Combi blowback. Yeah. Okay. Favorite hook pattern?
Super wide game.
Super wide game. Then you prefer pop-ups or bottom baits? I know it depends on venue and silt and all of that stuff, but
I would even call it pop-up or venue or silt. I'll say for a bite, pop-ups, and for hard feeding fish, definitely bottom baits.
Okay, perfect. Favorite bait flavor?
Oof. Might be a bit of a funny one, but squid and octopus.
Squid and octopus. Okay. I actually have some squid and octopus at home and I haven't tried. Favorite lead setup?
Helicopter system.
Helicopter. Preferred lead weight. Now I know it all depends on the distances and the wind and stuff like that, but
4 ounce.
4 ounce. Okay. And then your favorite venue? Let's say South African venue for now.
Yeah, no. Favorite venue would definitely be Ebenezer Dam.
Ebenezer Dam, yeah. Okay, awesome. Do you have a favorite international venue that you fished before?
I fell in love with, I must just get the name right, Lake Lapovac. It's in Croatia. It's a very basic dam that we had the One World Championships at, but it's just stunning fishing. I mean, you were catching 16-kilo fish on casting, and there was huge grasses caught, and I fell in love with it. Very natural scenery, and I had a good meeting with a wolf. So
a wolf, okay,
yeah, it was quite interesting. We can run through that one in a bit.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm just checking the camera again, and then we'll continue. Okay, so we're back. So we just had the quick fire questions. Then we're moving on with the interview. Tell us about what's your PB? You can do common and mirror. And then, weights and, just tell us the story.
So common is 18.6, if I'm remembering correctly. That was, out of reach play. That was a fish that I was talking about that I had on 16 when I was 16 years old. After a lot of time and effort in, and it was funny enough, it was on a one-night session. We came through on a Saturday night and did the rods. It was more actually just to catch up with the friends and everything. Wasn't expecting anything. We had chatted until late hours, and around about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, as I got into my bed chair, the rod just screamed off, and I actually thought it was one of the smaller fish, because by that time the smaller fish were a plague in this venue. And I winched that fish in. I don't like its head is coming over the water like this. And I saw I think it was still Walter from Mark that netted it for me. And as he netted it, I saw, but it's taking long for that net to get around the body. And it turned out to be my first 40-pound fish at that stage. And it was at that time. I mean, we haven't discussed it, but I always said that there's 3 peaks for me. It's obviously catching a 40-pounder, catching a 40-pounder on your own bait, like home roll, boilies, and then catching a 40-pounder on casting. Those were sort of 3 things that I aspired to do.
Yeah.
And at that stage, it was the first 40-pounder and on the home roll bait at the same stage. Okay. So it was a very nice experience for me.
Yeah, I can say, I think that's rewarding, and the PB, and then also on something you picked up yourself.
Yes, exactly.
And then your mirror PB?
Mirror PB, I can't exactly remember the day, so I think it's 19.4, 19.2 or 19.4. That was at Top Lake, Donaldson Top Lake. Also quite a funny story around it is that in total I did 17 nights there without catching any fish.
Sure.
It was different sessions, but 2 runs and that was my one and only fish that I actually got there. And it was on a night that I was planning, so the crabs were quite bad in the margins there, and everybody obviously wanted to fish the reeds and the structure and so on, but it was also quite a shallow venue, so the crabs got you everywhere. And my plan was, okay, put the rods out at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning so that the crabs don't have time to get to the baits, and then it goes into that peak bite time and get a fish. And maybe it's just me, but I didn't like spending time alone at that venue. So by the time Bear said he's going to bed, I'm like, well, I'm not going to sit here alone, take 3 PVA bags, just sort of lobbed them into the dam, and that was it. And I woke up to a screaming run. and it was on with the fish. And first it kited left and went under all my other lines, and there you backlet. So it was chaos. Yeah. And by the time I got the backlet sorted, I heard a splash here at the back of the jetty. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. And the fish had gone and beached itself on the bank here. Sure. Well, not like this sort of bank. I mean, top like had a little bit of a drop into the dam, but it beached itself on the bank just right of me. And it was in such a manner that I had to pull it away from the bank so we can get the net underneath it. But yeah, that was also a great experience. And that was also, having Veya there to experience it with me was also very special. And that was during the first Fox competition, the Pro Series, that was on, the Pro Carp app as well.
Okay. Awesome. And then, okay, so some of you guys would know, it's for you that don't know. So, Jordan works at Fox itself, if I'm correct.
Well, Fish on Africa is the distribution company. Yes. And then, I'm brand manager for Fox. So the carp side of the business.
Yeah, so actually. Just tell us a little bit, your role at Fox specifically then in South Africa.
Well, at this stage, regarding Fox is basically A to Z. From starting looking at the product from the website, placing the order, getting it here, unpacking it off of the truck, getting it booked into the warehouse, and then taking orders on it, packing the boxes, taking the orders out, deliveries. And then, of course, the big part of it is the marketing and working with the ambassador team. I mean, I don't do all of this myself. I'm very grateful for the ambassador team that helped me. They take a lot of weight off of my shoulders.
Yes.
But yeah, essentially it's from A to Z. There's no part that I'm not involved in with Fox at this stage. When it comes to new products, and obviously I have to do a bit of R&D. Is the product viable for South African conditions? Would I fish it myself? That's always a big question that I ask. Because there is a lot of UK based methods that people don't necessarily enjoy using in South Africa. But yeah, essentially from A to Z, I'm involved with it.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. And then also the marketing part of it, it's also, marketing is always fun.
Keeps me on my toes.
I think. Yeah. Okay. So like I told you guys in the beginning, I did a lot of research on Jordan as well. And I knew about the fact that Jordan is actually a Protea angler. Now he's mentioned Veya here now in the video a few times. And, like I said, I did a bit of research. So, for a lot of the people that don't actually know you from what they see in social media and so on. But like I said, Jordan is actually a Protea angler, and you were at the World Champs in 2025 where you represented South Africa, and that was held in Croatia. Yes. So first question then in this section about Jordan being a Protea angler. When did you first become a Protea angler? What age?
I was awarded my first Protea colors in 2019. Same for Veya. He also got his Protea colors with me for the first time in 2019. So basically we always act as a pair. So there's no real individualism in the sport. You act as pegmates. So yeah, both of us got it in 2019 for the first time.
Okay, awesome. And then I think I saw some of the photos you sent me and so on as well, and I think it must be an amazing experience. What was it like fishing in Croatia and then literally, being surrounded by some of the best carp anglers in the world?
It's very intimidating, to be straightforward with you. To get straight to the point of the intimidation is that, so there's captains meetings that get run before the World Champs, and they put out buoys at 200 meters to mark the center of your swim. You've only got 15 meters to fish within. And I mean, it's at that extent that if somebody's sitting with a camera along your borderline and they catch you in a shot where your leads landed outside or your spoms landed outside of that borderline, then you get your first yellow card, second yellow card, and pack up. But to get to the intimidation factor at this meeting now, where we found out about the boys that were on 200 meters, a guy stuck his hand up and he said, well, we're allowed to fish further than that.
Yeah.
And everybody laughed.
But is this just casting? Then?
This is just casting. Yeah. It's you're only allowed to cast in this facet. And everybody laughed at him. And his first cast, he threw a baited rig over 200 meters. So it was a bit ridiculous, but it's very intimidating. I mean, we go over there as South Africans, and we finance ourselves in the sport. There isn't any financial help with it or anything like that. And then you get there and you see teams like France, which is a fully sponsored team, and they've got basically 8 of every single rod that they've got there. So 8 10 foots, 8 12 foots, 8 13 foots, huge of the bank life gazebos, all of that sort of stuff that are going up. And you're talking about probably close to like R500,000 that's just sitting on their peg there at least. They're fishing with techniums and Bezier reels and all sorts of things. So yeah, in terms of that, it's very intimidating because you get there as a South African and you're like, well, counting your rands to be able to buy your bait at the end of the day. But yeah, it's an amazing experience. In terms of the competitive side, is I'm not very competitive in my social angling. I just enjoy my social angling, but it's because I can work it out of me in my competitive situations. But yeah, it's extremely intimidating at the end of the day.
Yeah, I can think that it could be intimidating. I mean, for me, most of my angling also, I go out at solo fishing. I like fishing on my own and so on. Yes, and the odd now and then session with someone I know and so on, but still small groups. And when I joined the Carp World Baits team now, that was intimidating for me as a guy that I'm still, like I said, I'm still relatively new. I'm still learning every day. And then fishing with these guys that's been doing it for years and they smashing fish after fish after fish. That's intimidating for me. So I can't imagine how intimidating it must be on that international field. And it's
takes you out of your comfort zone. I mean, some of the very financially strong countries, Ukraine, the last I think at least the last 2 world champs, they sat for a month at that dam, whether we're going to fish before we even get there. Now you're talking about they figured out areas to fish, deep depths, baits, rigs, everything to fish. And we're pitching up there and we're like, we've got a scouting team that goes over a few weeks before, but they don't actually do fishing. They watch sort of what the other anglers are doing.
Yes.
And then we sort of get there and we've got to try and build a game plan based on things. But I mean, sometimes there's a bait that you don't know and we only figure it out after 48 hours or something. And it's just on the back foot the whole time, essentially.
Yeah. And then how did the SA team do during the last one?
The last one we didn't do well. Whatsoever. I can't remember where we positioned, but the last one didn't go well. 2024 went decent, if I can put it like that. I can't remember where the team placed, but myself and Via in our zone came 4th, and we actually beat Croatia and went past literally in the last 15 minutes of the competition. We caught a fish that took us past Croatia and England. Which are obviously 2 very strong teams.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I can't remember exactly where it placed, but the last one unfortunately didn't go well at all.
Okay, but then you mentioned 2024 as well. So how many of these world champs have you done?
So let's get it right. I've done the last 2 years was Croatia. One of them was supposed to be in America, but America pulled out at the last minute, and obviously Croatia just stuck their hand up to host it. Before that, we were in France, and before that, we were in Hungary.
Okay.
So yeah, four world champs now.
Okay, and then the last one in this question, I've met Via. Now, you'll guys remember end last year, I did a video where I was at the Fox Open Day, and then I also did a small video where I had a casting lesson from Via. And I must say the stuff that he showed me, a few tweaks here and there. Jordan was also standing there close by. I'm just going to wait for the airplane. So I know from experience, if it comes over, you're not going to hear anything. So let's just wait for it to pass. And there's quite a few of them coming over here, but this is the first one now that makes a noise. Yeah, the previous one, I think it was the one with, because my first video with Arno, the plane came over and we just continued. And when I went home and I watched the audio, it was like, you can't hear anything. Yeah, okay. So, but Via gave me a few casting pointers as well. And I must say, with just the few small tweaks that he gave me, I could see immediate, improvement in my casting distance. So that's how I know Via. But then in a nutshell, you've spoken a lot about Via. So, how is Via as a peg mate? He told me to ask that. So.
No, it's all good. Look, myself and Via, when you see us operate at a pig, you'll think, well, these guys have known each other for 100 years. And that is a fact. We're actually very opposite in personalities and how things are done, but that's why we complement each other in angling. Where he doesn't like making the balls for feeding at essays, I enjoyed making the balls. Where he doesn't like PVA, I like PVA. Where I'm not as accurate as him on casting, he brings the accuracy to the pig. But yeah, we're very opposite in personalities actually, but yeah, let's just say that opposites attract in,
Yeah.
in this scenario. We work very, very well together. And like I say, in essays, in the competitive side, you can get, there's a big emotional ups and downs through a competition with being so tired and physically, physically trained. And at the end of the day, I pick him up and he picks me up. So I think we make an extremely good team.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm just checking the camera again, and then we'll continue. Okay, so the next part of the interview is more about a little bit more information. Like I told you guys in the beginning, one of the main reasons why I started this was for me to learn, and then also to get to know some of these anglers, but then also for the viewers to learn. And something I've never, me personally, I know it exists. We've spoken about the world champs now and stuff like that, but I think there might be some young anglers out there that would like to know, competitive angling. How do you get into competitive angling? If there's someone watching that would like to get into competitive angling, and I think specifically with specimen, I think with popkoi and conventional angling, it's much easier. I mean, almost every school in South Africa, I know here in Gauteng, specifically in Mpumalanga, Limpopo, some of the Northwest schools, they have angling at school where you can join the school team and you can get into that side of competitive angling. I think getting into it is more well known and therefore it might be a little bit easier. But, for the specimen side, in South Africa, how or where would you start to get into competitive angling for specimen specific?
So I don't want to get into too much detail because then it can be quite a brain twister, but essentially what happens is that it gets run like any sort of sport. So at this stage, you still affiliate with a bank angling club that gives you a SA number, which all of your tracking gets done. They've got a whole point system that they work with at the end of the day. But you affiliate with a bank angling club. It's not necessarily that you have to go fish the competitions or anything, but that SA number then comes into your carp angling as well, or your specimen angling. So the right people to sort of look for is Gilbert was in it for a long time. Loki Levies, Johan Hopley is at the moment. I'm trying to think of the English word. I think it's the chairman of the carp angling. There's a lot of names. Also, if you need to get a hold of the right people, more than welcome to contact me. There's quite a lot of us in the sport that are involved with it. But yeah, essentially is you'll get affiliated with a bank angling club. You'll join a province. Your province may have trials depending on the size of the province. Then you'll get put into an A or B team, and then you go into essays, which is obviously your basis of getting chosen for the Protea team. But essentially the way that it works is that you'll go fish essays. If you place well in your zone, you get chosen to go to what we call the Protea trials. Not that it's only for Proteas. There's basically Protea is let's call it your A team. Then you've got Savov A and Savov B, which is what we call the development teams to become Proteas. And you need to do 2 years between Savov B and Savov A to be able to become a Protea. And yeah, that's basically the gist of the process. To get into the process.
Okay, and I know when I spoke to Via, he also mentioned Johan Hopley and so on, and I did a bit of, not specifically on him, but the industry and so on. But if I'm correct, there are social media pages and web pages and so on that you can actually get a lot of this information or the contact people from.
Yes, so the Facebook page is called Carp Facet. I'm not sure if it's done in English or Afrikaans, so it might be Carp Facet or Carp Facet. But yes, Johan Hopley is quite active on there. So yeah, you can definitely guys send him a DM from Facebook.
Yeah, but what I'll do is I'll share the link, or basically show you the Facebook name and everything at the bottom of the screen, and then the guys can go from there. Okay, so but that's then quite interesting. Now you've also mentioned earlier, but we're in competitiveness, but you said you guys you and Via, you basically compete as a pair.
Yes.
It's you and your peg mate. So do you and your peg mate then, let's say, for instance, you compete. So is it the fact that, let's say, for instance, one goes through and the other one can't, or everything it's you and your peg mate, your results together?
So as long as you fish together, your points basis behind the scenes will be as a pair. There is instances where if Bear can't get off work and if they want me to fish a competition or want him to fish a competition, then you can still go and fish with somebody else and you will get a designated point for that. But essentially you try and you build it as a pair, because when you go to world champs, you're going to fish as a pair. And sorry, what was the basis of the question again?
Your peg, so it's not necessarily that everything you do is peg mate together. Is it individual or, pegs?
Yeah.
Together?
So basically, as long as you fish together, your points will be based off the same. And as a peg, you will place somewhere in your zone, and that will be your designated points going forward.
And the reason why I'm asking this is because, when I spoke to Pierre as well, he said that who you fish with, your peg mate, is actually very, very important. And you've touched on it as well. And then we're going to touch on it again later. But how important, now you assume it's very important, but finding that right peg mate.
It's the number one factor. I mean, it's literally like when you're in competition mode, it's a relationship that you've got now. You need to know if he is getting dehydrated, his moods. I mean, he'll tell you the story as well about me just throwing chocolate bars down his throat because his sugar drops and then he gets grumpy, and then I just get a bit of chocolate back into him and get him to eat. I'm a type of guy that I can go the whole day without eating, and then I eat once in the evening and I'm sorted. But he's the type of person that eats every sort of 2-3 hours. You wouldn't say it, but he eats every sort of 2 or 3. He eats every 2 or 3 hours. In terms of the practicality on the peg is that you got to complement each other, and you got to be able to know your roles. We call it working back and front. So a lot of the time, Bear works front. He plays the fish in, sacks the fish, casts the rod back out. I'm operating at the back with the rigs. But if he gets tired, then we switch roles on the peg, and then designated roles. So like when he's awake at night in his shift, he cooks the feed. I'm responsible for getting all the PVA ready for the rest of the night. He's generally got the busiest shift. So yeah, it gets very in depth, but I mean, it's the most important thing in my opinion. If you don't get along, I mean, we've seen people throw fists around on a peg because obviously emotions, like I said, doing this and this one's doing something wrong. And also you got to trust your peg mate with everything. I mean, gear wise, there's some pegs that we've seen that you're allowed to fish 4 rods, angling rods at a time. And when the one guy goes and he sleeps, he says, "Oh, well, you're not using my rods." And he pulls his rods. And how are you supposed to compete like that? So you trust each other with everything. We've got to trust each other to make the right call. Once you've done your feature finding, okay, let's discuss the spots that we're going on. And a lot of the time, Bear will go on the shorter tactical spots, and I'll go longer for the backup plan. And in the beginning, we will catch a lot of generally catch quite a couple of fish long while they're all roaming and the pressure's been set in, and then those short rods kick in and get during the nights and so on.
Yeah. So it's like any other team sport. You would assume, okay, it's me fishing with my rods and it's whatever I catch, but yes, fishing and being social and so on, that it's a solo thing. But
Definitely.
Actually, when you compete like this, it's team. The team needs to work together.
When your peg mate goes to sleep, he has to trust you fully to be able to keep the angling going and to keep catching fish. I mean, it takes one wrong move or not clipping the rods in at the right distance, and you're off the fishing end. So you really have to trust each other fully on that peg, that you're representing each other here, and you're going to put a lot of work into it.
Okay. So if we go then on, would you say that the opportunity to fish world champs is a highlight of your fishing career, or if not, anything else, or a favorite memory maybe that's your highlight in your fishing career, competitive or just social by yourself?
So my dream from a youngster was, and I actually thought I missed it at a stage, but my dream was to be the youngest Protea angler in the carp facet. And at a stage I thought I missed it, and I was bawling my eyes out after the one essays. And after being reinformed is that when we got awarded our Protea colors in 2019, I was actually the youngest Protea angler at that stage.
And what was your age?
19 years old.
At 19, shucks, that's very young.
Yeah, there was no.
Lighty then, not after
Yeah, and I was actually sitting here at Reef for the day that I found out, and of course we had to celebrate it a bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. Geez, at 19. But I assume it's, I think the amount of work you had to put in to get there. Yeah, I'm sure that you deserved it. So.
I sat on the couch and I worked it out. My first essays with Veer was in 2015. So we're going for 11 years now. This is, well, not our 11th essays thanks to COVID, but it's been going along the lines for 11 years this year.
Yeah, that's a very long time. Yeah. Okay, camera's still recording and everything. We're going into the last part of the interview now. So questions that I've asked my guys in the previous interviews as well, and it's a question that I get asked so much. Even last week, there was a young angler that contacted me where he's making the switch from Bobgoy to specimen, and he wanted tips. So I typed in a whole long thing for him and explaining, all the, the do's, the don'ts. And like you mentioned also earlier, so, do your own thing, but you need to, it's going to take time to get there. Knowledge. But then it might be something that we already answered when we spoke about, being yourself and finding your own thing. But for any young angler now or not even a young angler, any angler making that switch from conventional angling to specimen, what would your top tips be? Just a few, not otherwise. I know we could sit here whole day if we talk about tips and stuff you need to do and don't do, but getting into it, what would your top tips be?
Number one is that if once you set in your mind that specimen angling is something that you want to do, is invest early. I've been through easily 10 different setups in the years that I've been fishing, where I could tell you that if you just put money into one decent setup from the beginning, it will last you for the rest of your life. That would be top tip number one, so you don't waste money on it. Top tip number two is really understand that it takes time to learn this stuff. I mean, we learn every day that we're out here on the bank. I haven't caught a fish today yet. Now I've got to try and figure out why. And don't give up based on, I blanked a few sessions. Blanking is a part of everyone's career. I blanked a couple of weeks ago. Veer blanked last year. It's a part of everybody's career. There's not an angler that doesn't blank. So don't base your how can I say it? Don't make a decision based off of blanks. There might be something very fine and small that you're doing wrong, and speak to the people around you that have been in the industry or that have got knowledge in the industry, and let them help you. I mean, there's a lot of people that I know that are willing to give a helping hand. And yes, I know that there's some people that hide everything, but there's definitely people out there that can help each and every angler getting into the sport to get the basics right and sort of build on that.
Yeah. I must actually say that last part for me is, and I've mentioned it in quite a lot of my videos, and I've noticed that almost like the specimen community, most of the guys in the specimen community that's been doing it for long and doing it for a few years, they are more than eager to answer any questions. I mean, when I started, I know Werner now, for me starting in specimen angling and so on, it was a guy that I looked up to, and I was so many times I thought, geez, must I contact this guy? And there was quite a few times in my early days where I contacted him and I asked for tips and advice, and he gave it. And that's the thing, don't be scared to ask. No. Most of the guys in the specimen community are more than willing to help and give tips and everything.
And the guys that might not take it, might not answer you so well, just take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
You've got those type of people that just don't like to share information.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you find some of them.
Definitely. And in my young days, nobody shared information.
Yeah.
Unless you found somebody that did now guiding. Nobody shared information about this type of stuff. It was really based off of learning and building it up. In our day, a lot of the people were so secretive about what they were doing. You just didn't get in.
Yeah. Because I name a few names now. For me, when I started, there was a guy, Peter Snijders. When I started with an Instagram account, and he saw me starting off and so on. And he gave me so much advice and everything. A lot of the stuff I know, I learned from him. Werner asked a few questions, and Alex Willers. also. There's so many advice that he gave me as well. And yeah, if you just ask, you'll get the answers. But I had a few where I would send a message, ask questions, and what's it now? 4 years later, I'm still waiting for a reply. So you do get those as well. Okay, so what does the future hold for Jordan? What's coming up in 2026, your plans, your goals, what can we expect to see? But I'll keep that for now. But what's coming up in 2026?
I must be honest, I'm still on a bit of a blank page at the moment. I haven't really decided sort of what venues I'm going to target or anything like that. I definitely want to get out to the wild waters this year a bit more. A bit longer sessions, go for week sessions and so on like that, to go and hunt a couple of decent sized wild water fish. And then, basically my short sessions, I'll be popping around a bit of everywhere. I did quite a bit of Donaldson Dam last year, and I think I'll definitely spend some time there again this year. In terms of business wise, the Fox Open Day, I definitely want to try and pull through this year again. There's been a lot of updated products, a lot of new products that have come in that we'd love to show to the to clients and everything. And then we'll definitely see if we can work in another competition. It seemed like the guys enjoyed it a lot. We love giving back to I love giving back to the community. I mean, it's not all just about making money. I really do want, at the end of the day, I want people using quality stuff and improving their results at the end of the day. And that's the basis of it.
And then not SA Championship, but has the SA Championship still coming up? And then
so SAs will be we fish SAs in October. So for example, October 2025 to be chosen for the team in 2026. So we've got World Champs again this year. It's in Macedonia, which we've got coming up in early September again. We've got SA Champs in October, and then I've got what they call Borger Toernooi or the SA Open now coming up in April.
Okay, perfect. So I want to do a bit of research on the next World Champs and see what's going on there. So Macedonia, September.
Yes, correct.
Okay, now the last part of this is this is questions that I got from his pig mate Vieja. Now Vieja said I should ask you these questions. I don't know for what reason. Maybe you know. So there's one, but I think we'll do that at the end. We'll do the insert. So what Vieja did ask me, he must show us how quickly he can wrap up on distance sticks. Now I've seen this before, and it's next. I lost count. He would go and I've lost count. So, but I think we'll do that at the end. We'll do a little insert for that, and I'm just going to show you guys. Okay.
1, 2, 3. Ek het hom gestop toe hy daar gehak het.
Okay, so you guys just heard it over there. We just had Jordan to see how quickly he can wrap up 150 meters. Just over 22 seconds, and he wrapped up 150 meters. I told him earlier, for me, something like that takes me about 5 minutes wrapping and then slowly reeling it in. So, but I assume practice makes perfect. Then, between you and Vieja, who casts the furthest?
That'll be me.
Okay, you.
Yeah, I'll put the distance on the pig.
Okay, but then Vieja said, who's more accurate?
Definitely him.
Definitely him. So Vieja, there you've heard it. You are more accurate. Okay, and then Vieja said I should also, you should tell me the story. Now I've got rain starting. Something about a bee during SA champ session. That's all he said. So, he said just ask him something about a bee.
So in general, obviously SAs you use a bit of dips and so on, which attracts these bees, and you've got a lot of feed lying around and all. And on that specific occasion, I'd been stung twice already. One on my calf, which caused my whole leg to swell up, and one on my right hand, which caused my whole hand to swell up. And I'm sitting there and I'm loading what we call the slingshot for Vieja. I'm putting the balls in, and the bees are obviously bugging me. And he sees there's this one specific one, and I keep trying to swat it away. And sorry, it wasn't the slingshot. It was with what we call the leopold. It's basically a net pole with a
Yes,
big
he
spoon
said
on
something
the
about a spoon.
yes. And as I'm loading for him, he notices that this bee's bugging me, and he sort of like gets that net pole to whip, and he smacks the bee with the end of the spoon. But in that occasion, you're so dead tired. I laughed for about half an hour. I couldn't even load the spoon. I was dying from the
he
laughter.
said about the tiredness and so on.
Yeah. Sorry, let's go on with yours. I've got a couple of more funny stories.
We can get more than that. Then he said something about a tent ping.
Yeah.
Where Gilbert thought Veer at because you had a shiner or something, I don't know. And then Gilbert was concerned that Veer is hitting his peg mate.
So I was quite a youngster. That was the second essay. I was 15 or 16 years old. And we had huge storms at essays. If you ask anybody, then they threw tents 20 meters into the air. It was insane. And with that wind that came through, we had a sail, basically almost like a tarp over our tent. Yeah. And we've got those, triangular pegs that we put into the ground. As the wind came through, it blew it out, and I'm trying to grab the thing.
Yeah.
And that peg hit me across my eye, but properly, so my eye started like swelling and closing. And Gilbert walks onto the peg, and he looks at Veer, and he's like, "Did you do that?" He thought Veer had given me a clap. We just started laughing, but yeah, it was actually essentially from the peg going that hit me in the eye, that I had this big swollen eye at the essays.
Yeah, I can think Gilbert might be concerned because you're quite a few years younger than Veer. That Veer might have been sugar dropped or something. Yeah. And then you mentioned something earlier, and we said you'll elaborate a little bit. You ran into what's the wolf story in Croatia? I'm curious.
So the first World Champs in 2024 in Croatia. So obviously, being South Africans, we don't worry about bears and wolves and those sort of things.
All our wild animals are locked up somewhere in the nature reserve.
No, well, like they think we've got lions walking across the street here. Well, they've got wolves running around there. So Veer had gone to bed. I was on shift and I was reclipping the rods, and I could hear. Think about it this way: basically, like there's a footpath that goes across here, or a bicycle path, and then it's just woods, and just woods as far as you can see. And I'm standing and I'm wrapping up, and each rod I can hear, like, it almost sounds like something's trotting around over dead leaves in the forest. And I'm like, okay, well, it's probably a buck or an antelope or whatever the case is. And yeah, by the fourth rod, I heard, yes, but it's coming now, like, directly towards me. And I'm shining with my headlamp, and it comes out, and I just see it's grey and it's furry. And in the moment, I'm just thinking, okay, it's a buck. Shout at the thing, and it doesn't go away. And it's sort of like, there's that pose that a dog gets to where it sort of like drops its head and it looks up to you like it wants to play. And well, that's what the wolf was looking at me at. I'm like, I didn't realize it was a wolf in the moment. I just saw grey fur and long fur. Yeah. And eventually I was like, but yellow eyes. Now, they say predators have got red eyes, so naturally you would assume that it's not a predator. Eventually I screamed at this thing, but Bear said he could hear the what's the word? The fear in my voice, because it doesn't want to go away. And eventually I called Veer out and I said, look, it's definitely not something friendly. And I jumped onto Google and I said, okay, well, is there wolves in Croatia? Yes. Are they in this area? Yes. How do they look in this area? And it was grey, long fur, and I double checked that it's yellow eyes. So that was just, this is probably looking at me like a big Mac feast or something. But it was.
No, I can think that might be scary, because it's not something we know about. I've got no idea how it might react or anything. Okay, but then you said you've got one or two other things that you might want to tell, funny things at sessions or something.
Oh, there's a lot of funny experience that we get through the essays. Like I say, some of them people might not find funny in the moment, but when you're that tired, I'm trying to think now. The one was the peg one. Luckily, you had the question in there. There's also always a story that we talk about. There was a specific inline lead system that we would fish with, that if it really couldn't take a punch of the casting, and when we didn't know that, you would sort of just throw it, and then we would say, as the lead disappears, yes, now I'm on the spot now. I can't think of too many, but if something
but it's fine. It doesn't matter. Okay, but but I'm thinking about it while I talk. How big was it? How big are they actually, wolves, when they stand in front? Because you're a tall guy.
He was a bit elevated from my point of view, but it's not a Labrador. It's
bigger than a Labrador.
I don't want to say it's one of those very tall dogs, Marmaduke.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, like a
Great Dane.
Great Dane.
It's not a Great Dane, but it's definitely like I would say definitely up to my sort of belly button height if it's standing up straight. I'm just glad that it was one by itself. Maybe it made it think twice
They
before
hunt
coming.
impacts, man.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So the very last thing then, your latest video on YouTube, which is on the Fox International SA YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I watched it and there's some amazing carp that you caught there. But yeah, just explain a little bit, promote your video, and then I'm going to share the link for the guys as well to watch for those who haven't seen it yet.
Thank you very much. Yeah, essentially, well, we actually had a very last minute plan, myself and my friend Ulrich, who's got into the filming industry now. He came with me to do a bit of filming, but it was a last minute plan. We headed through to Rietspruit last year. I think the total session was about 38 hours or so that we were actually fishing for. And it turned out to be my best session ever at Rietspruit. We had 10 fish in total, definitely 4 fish, 15 and plus kilos. And then I betted my common PB for that dam in that session as well, going 17.4, 17.6 around about there. And then literally that next week, he was unfortunately not there to film it with me, but there's sort of photos that have been put in of the other mirror that I had, which also then betted my mirror PB for the dam at, I think it was 17.8 or 17.6 around about there. But yeah, it's just a general spec. Obviously, a lot of the fishing wise, we talk about some of the new rods that are from Fox. I show them the rig that I've been using since last year, February, which, I mean, people say that I'm lying to them, but I literally have not lost a fish on that rig. I'm not talking about when it goes and gets weeded up.
That's the one you sent me the photo of.
Yes, the version of the German rig.
Yeah.
I did my first session last year, February, and I had a 40-pounder on the rig as my first fish on the rig. And from there, I just kept on fishing it. And it's very basic, easy to tie, especially for guys that are just getting into angling. It's something that's simple and gets the job done. All the hook holds are great. So yeah, essentially that's the video. Go have a look, and I hope you can learn something from it.
Yeah, but now to mention with the German rig as well, because when I started with a normal blowback, and then from there played around a little bit, and at the end of the day, I actually very quickly switched over to a German rig. And for me specifically, it's a rig that I've been using for a while. Yes, I've got my own little variations now, but it's basically the same thing. But yeah, I also mainly fish the German rig when I do my carp.
With the style that I'm using it with the medium curve hook, there's not even a kicker required for it. So it's literally, I mean, ring swivel, bead, hook, and it's 4 components that you need for the rig. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, and it's effective. So
yeah. Okay, well, Jordan, that's it from my side for all my questions and everything. I do want to thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
I know we're in session here and everything, and I try and do the interviews in session. It just makes it a little bit more interesting and so on. But thank you very much for the time you gave me today to come through and interview you. I think I've learned a lot, and I think a lot of the guys that would watch the video, the younger guys specifically, would learn a lot. And then, also, guys, if you have any questions about carp angling, like Jordan said, contact him, ask your questions, especially if you're starting out. I think the more you ask, the better. Okay.
100%. Thank
Jordan,
you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the
Good
time.
luck for the rest of your session here now. Started to rain now a little bit, and I hope you catch something nice.
Hopefully we'll get one in the back of the net soon.
Yes, definitely. Okay, guys, that's it for this episode. Like I mentioned previously, I do have some other guys lined up as well, but getting the time and getting those calendars to match, it's pretty difficult. But I'm going to try my best, and then hopefully the next time you see me will be me back on the bank doing some fishing of my own. Till next time, cheers.
Cheers.